All right. As a member of the band FireHouse, my guest today has released 8 albums selling 7 million copies worldwide, probably over 7 million now. The song Love of a Lifetime was voted the #1 wedding song of all time. As a solo artist, he's released 5 solo albums that you can find now at Leverty.com. Let's welcome our guest today, Bill Leverty. Where are you, Bill? Hold on. Bill Leverty, right there.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me, Shane. Great to see you, man. How you been?
Modern technology. I'm doing good. Yeah, I feel like I haven't seen you in quite some time.
Yeah, it's been a while, and it's shoot, a couple of years at least.
At least the band that you're in is still a band. The one that I was working with.
Yeah, sorry about that, man. It's I'm sure you got other ones in the works, though. Knowing you got a lot.
Oh yeah. Well, I stay busy, but anyway, Bill. So I want to talk a little bit about. Well, first, let's talk about what you're doing right now, because I think that's the world is a whole new place. So how are you keeping yourself busy these days?
Well, I with music, I got really lucky in that I was about to finish my fifth solo album, right when we all got shut down. I just figured out what I was going to write the last song about, and Divided We Fall, and that's the name of the song, and became the name of the album. So I finished that, and once I finished the mix on that, I realized that the mixes of the other songs weren't up to snuff compared to that one. I'd gotten some more gear, and I'd learned a few more things, so I had to go back and remix all those songs, and it took a while, but then I released the album, and so that kept me busy, going to the post office and stuff, because when people buy a CD from me, I always ask if there's a place on my website where you can ask for me to sign it, so I sign them, and it's been a lot of fun getting this new music out there.
Well, you definitely are in control of your music. If people go to your website, it's all available there, and you can send them signed CDs or digital downloads, and you run your own industry. And it's amazing that you put out 5 solo records, and that you keep doing it. And obviously you do it because music is a real passion to you. No one's making CDs to get rich anymore, so it just shows your love for this music. And were you always a singer? How did you, because on some of your records, other than the instrumental, you sing. Did you know that was something that you wanted to do?
I've always loved singing, but since we had our band, we had CJ Snare as our, he's such a great singer. And, when you got CJ, you don't really think too much about singing lead. And it wasn't until probably after our 5th FireHouse album where I realized I had a couple of songs that were left over that didn't really make it on the record. It didn't fit FireHouse for whatever reason. And I had sang on those demos, and I thought, well, I'm going to try to finish these and sing on them. Mm-hmm. And, lead singing is so much more difficult than background singing. They're both hard to do, but being a background vocalist, you have to be in tune and you got to be in time, but the tone isn't as important. But when you're a lead singer, the tone is so important because it's what's right up in front in the mix. So I really had to work on that, and really, I still am. I mean, I'm a student at everything, but I think that with singing, it's one of those phenomenons that if you're born and gifted with a great voice, then you can sing anything and it comes out sounding good. I'm not that guy. I'm the guy that when I try to sing something, I have to really try to figure out how to place it in my voice to get it to sound good. And a lot of things just don't. That's why a lot of songs that I come up with, I can't sing them, but these 10 that I did come up with, I felt like I could pull them off. And going back to my first record, these were songs that I thought I could pull off. And it's a journey. The more you do it, the more you learn, and the more you learn what you can't do as well as what you can do.
Yeah, and what's great about it for you is that you have two options. If you write a song that's more in the Firehouse vein, you have that. And if you write something that fits your voice, um, you have that. And so I want to talk a little bit about your first solo record, Wanderlust, um, and sort of what because this is a big deal for you. First time aside from Firehouse, putting out your own record.
Yeah.
So what was this experience like for you?
Well, it was a little bit scary because I uncharted territory for me, uh, singing. I produced other albums before, so I felt like I could get that part of it figured out. I was living in Florida, and we had just had our my wife and I just had our daughter. So I should say she had the daughter. I helped a little bit, but
You did the work, yeah.
that's all. I said push, but I had recorded the tracks, all of the tracks except for the drums in Florida, and our good friend, rest in peace, Bruce Wabel, who was Firehouse's bassist for a couple of year and a half. He recorded the bass tracks on there in Florida and just did a phenomenal job. And then I moved to Richmond, and I was like, man, I got to get real drums on here. So Michael Foster, Firehouse's drummer, lives here, and he came in and recorded all the songs in a half a day. He just had everything down and had so many great ideas, and he was just so on. I mean, everything was a first take with Mikey that day. And so then it was just time for me to figure out how to mix it on the gear that I had. And I put it out, and it's a little more bluesy overall than Firehouse, and a couple of things didn't really fit the Firehouse thing, and a couple of things fit my voice, so that's why I went for it. And so that was a fun time in a part of my life where I was moving from Florida to Virginia, back to Virginia. So it was there were challenges involved in getting moved out of that bedroom studio I had, and then moving into a studio that I've tried to put together here in Richmond.
Yeah, well, I mean, it seems like at that point you wanted to do something a little different than Firehouse too. It was probably the perfect thing to do your own music at that point.
Well, I love Firehouse. Gives me all the freedom to do everything. I had more to do, and I wanted to go ahead and put it out. So it was just kind of like no real aspirations of taking it on the road or becoming a solo artist or anything like that. Just putting out some more music. That's really the idea of all of my solo albums anyway.
Absolutely. Well, okay. Well, speaking of Firehouse, let's go back to 1990 and your debut album. And now you guys have been playing around in Virginia and stuff for a while before you get signed in '89, and then the record comes out in '90. You guys end up winning American Music Award in 1991, Best New Hard Rock Heavy Metal Band. And I think in some ways Firehouse gets lost in the shuffle a little bit, even though you guys are selling more records than most of the other bands. The songs are huge. And one of the things that I can say for Firehouse is that what your peers did not do is you guys continued to make hit songs, past grunge. As I mean, your own career, but for other people who think maybe Firehouse was just a hair band, and there was a lot to this band. So tell me what it was like, in 1990 putting this record out.
Well, it all happened so fast. And we had worked so hard to get to the point where we could put out a national release. It was 9 years from the time that I said, I want to get in the music business full time, until the time we got a record deal. Michael and I had been playing together since 1984. And CJ, we got working with him in '87, and so it was a long haul to get to that point where we finally got our record deal. And then when the record came out, we had already been on the road and doing little pickup shows, little record company promo shows, and we then rented a bus and we went out. There was this radio station called Z Rock.
Yeah, I remember.
Remember Z Rock? Okay,
Yeah.
so for those who don't remember, it was syndicated out of Dallas by Lee Abrams. And you can look his name up. Huge industry giant who syndicated this radio station out of Dallas, and it was about 30 stations around the country that carried Z Rock. So we had 30 gigs instantly because they started playing Shake and Tumble, which was a song that was just kind of wasn't really an official release, but it was given to metal radio, and Z Rock picked it up and started playing it a lot. So we got 30 gigs right away. So all that was going on. And then the record company said, okay, we want to put out a video for your first single. It's going to be a song called Don't Treat Me Bad. And we shot it in a club in Richmond that we had played before. And a director named Jean Pellerin came in, and this was our first video. So it was really exciting. He was a great director, and he had some really cool ideas for the video. And it was a very small budget, though. And we shot that video, and it was a great night. And the song started to go up the charts pretty well. And once it got into the top 20, the record company said, hey, we really, without saying they messed up, they said, we want to shoot another version of this video because it's going up. It's getting a lot of airplay, and we can do one with a bigger budget. So we're going to fly you out to LA, and we're going to do another video for Don't Treat Me Bad on the Friday night. And then on the Saturday night, you guys will shoot a video for your next single, which we've decided is going to be a song called Love of a Lifetime. Wow. So we were like, okay, that sounds great. So we flew out to LA. We did another version of Don't Treat Me Bad, which was played. It extended the life of Don't Treat Me Bad on MTV and at radio. And then we shot Love of a Lifetime. And then I guess right around prom season, Love of a Lifetime, they released that. And then that song went to number 5. So.
When you write a song like that, could you have any idea how big? I mean, I know it's a close personal song to you, but could you have any idea that this song is going to take off like it did?
Well, we had no idea that song would be as big as it was. We always hoped that it would be that big, but we didn't know. I mean, and CJ brought that song in, and I always felt like it was a really good song. I think the other guys did too. We just weren't sure whether it was going to be hard rock enough.
Right.
And so, but thankfully the record company got behind it, and we put some screaming guitars on it and kind of dressed it up like hard rock, and a lot of people took to it. A lot of people come up to me and then they say that song was our wedding song, and that song means so much to us, and that's our song, and it's a great feeling. For sure.
Well, and you know what, you guys hit it right. A lot of the bands put out 2 songs before you got to the ballad. You guys went pretty much the second song, the ballad, and it worked. Obviously, huge for you guys.
Well, if I had it my way, I would have released 9 songs, hard rock songs, before the ballad, because your rock credibility, right, is more solid with the rock stuff. As soon as you go across the street from the rock station over to the pop station, the rock stations go, yeah, you're not our band anymore. So not all of them. There were a lot of them that stuck with us, but we lost a lot of those program directors because they felt like, oh, you went and you went over to our competition. So it was a calculation by the record company. We didn't have anything to do with the decision making of any of that stuff, as far as releasing what single was going to go when. We would tell our manager and our A&R guy, oh, we want this song. And they go, well, there's going to be a board meeting and we'll let you know what it is. And that's the way it works for a baby. Well,
2 thoughts on that. One is that, first of all, how do we find out that Love of a Lifetime is the #1 wedding song? Are people going to weddings and counting?
There's a magazine that I'd never heard of called Bridal Magazine. And they must have, their sources of DJs and people who do these events. And it was the #1 wedding song of the year. And it still comes back as a big one every year. So I never heard of Bridal Magazine, but
I'm sure they're a reputable source.
a huge fan.
I've been trying to write the #1 divorce song ever since I heard that.
Well, we wrote one. It's called All She Wrote.
Oh, that's true. You guys had on the same record. You kind of beat it. Yeah.
I'm not sure if it was #1, but it might have been in the top 20.
You had your bases covered.
Yeah. Right.
One of the things you were saying about, when you kind of cross into the pop world as well, I feel like your guitar playing was always very underrated. Maybe especially at that time. I don't think that you got the nods that say, somebody like Red Beach was being pushed, and these type of guys at the time, they were really being sold as the guitar hero, and FireHouse, I feel like, was being sold as this
monster. I'll never be anywhere near as good as Reb, but I appreciate what you're saying there.
Yeah, but you're playing. I really do feel like it kind of got and don't get me wrong, I know that a lot of guitar players know, but I feel like a lot of people didn't get to see as much. And that's why I'm so glad you made solo records, and also that you were able to start to write and produce the later FireHouse records. But the first FireHouse record that we're talking about, the deep tracks on the record are such heavy rock guitar orientated songs that I think that if people only know the singles, they're missing an entire side, of FireHouse. So songs like Don't Walk Away. And
man, thank you. I wish people knew more about our music than the singles too. The true fans do, but the people who just kind of know what was on the radio, that's really all they know. So we fought pretty hard with touring for over 30 years to present our live show to people who have never heard FireHouse or only heard Don't Treat Me Bad and Love of a Lifetime, or the pop side of us. And that's been our plan of trying to introduce people to our harder edge side is by touring.
Sure. I mean, listen, it's a double-edged sword. You're lucky to have had all that success, but there is so much more to that band. And I know you guys get kind of, become the wedding band or the ballad band, but there's so much heavy rock that I think fans, you can still discover this music. People can go on right now online and listen to a FireHouse record. It's there, And so here's the second record. Let's get to that. Now, at this point, the record's a little heavier. I think that's a thing that most bands were doing, obviously. But yet you have another massive ballad off this record.
Yeah, we did. I mean, the first single that the record company chose off that was Reach for the Sky, which was a pretty hard rocking song. And there were some other harder edge songs on there. And they felt that they should get to that ballad to release that pretty quickly, especially since at that time, bands of our genre were falling out of favor pretty rapidly.
Yeah.
They were seeing a challenge with us to get the rock stations to play our song. So they, the song When I Look Into Your Eyes, they released that, and that went to #7. So that did pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, it's huge. And to follow up again, it's not an easy thing to do.
Well, another, lots of love in that song. The people who fell in love with, the song Love of a Lifetime stayed in love with When I Look Into Your Eyes. So I guess that was what happened there.
Yeah. And we should point out again, though, this is another heavy album. If you listen to the other cuts besides the singles, you will again see that other side of a FireHouse,
Yeah, we used the same production team. So David Prater produced it, and Doug Oberkirker was our engineer. And we were familiar with the process and we liked them, and we still do. And so we went in and just tried to make the record a little bit bigger and a little bit more in your face. Mm-hmm. And I think we achieved it. It was, we, like they say, you got all your life to write that first record, and you got, maybe a year to write the second one. But we did our homework, I think, and we worked hard on writing those songs for that second record.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it shows. And even though we're talking about the scene changing, FireHouse 3. So now, well, what year is this album?
Oh, this is 95.
Okay, 95. So now we're jumping ahead pretty fast. Obviously, Firehouse did a ton of touring and there was other things happening. But 95, most of your peers and other bands have either gone into a really hard edge, try to change what they do, or called it a day. You guys stuck to your sound. Firehouse 3 sounds like a Firehouse record. You didn't try to dress in flannel or be something that you weren't. And here it is again, another huge ballad, which is completely insane to do that a third time. Tell me a little bit about what that was like.
It was, we didn't think we were going to have a shot at all coming out of the gate. Like you said, a lot of our peers had put out records and they didn't go so well. But the record company gave us $10,000 to shoot that video for "I Live My Life for You," and we thought, wow, gosh, they've really lost interest in us. But they put out the song, and the song went in the top 40, and I can't remember where it charted. Maybe it topped out at like number 23 or something like that. And but they didn't really promote it in America. So and I understand why. They didn't have any radio program directors that were interested in playing Firehouse at all on the rock side. On the pop side, if it was a hit, they'd play it. And so places started playing it and the phones would light up. And so they'd play it again and they'd get requests and whatever. So the song stood up on its own. But as far as anything else, the record company didn't really feel like this was going to be something that they could put their money behind. So they said, hey, why don't you guys go over to Asia? We got some action on the song over there. And that song, "I Live My Life for You," is become is the biggest song for Firehouse over there. And so in I don't know, 7 countries over there, that's our biggest song. So it's it was promoted over there and it got to be pretty big.
And that's another thing that is so huge for Firehouse, is that you crossed into markets that other bands were not. Same thing. A lot of, even bands that might have been bigger sellers, they didn't cross into the Asian markets like Firehouse did. It's so well that you guys still can play those markets and do really well and sell product. And I think that's one of the big tests of Firehouse, that the survival of that band.
Well, it sure did help at a time where we couldn't get many gigs around here in our home country to be able to say, well, let's hop on a plane and go over there and play. And then we had big audiences. And then we went to Indonesia in support of that album probably 4 times. Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Korea, Japan, of course. Probably missed a couple, but it was opening up a whole new group of friends that you didn't know you had. And so it was a great time. And we got to play a lot of places that were, just incredible. So, yeah.
And as I said, a lot of the other bands were not doing that. They might have been popular here, but it's very difficult to cross into those markets. And
well, I think that a lot, to come to the defense of some of those bands, it's a hard decision to say, when you're selling tickets in America, hey, let's hop on a plane that takes you 36 hours to get over to Malaysia, let's say.
Gotcha.
Well, so we were having a hard time selling tickets here in America. So we said, well, we can sell tickets over here. Let's get on that plane. Mm-hmm. So it's an easier decision for us than for another band, let's say, that was doing okay over here. But I got some advice from some musicians, and they said, from guys who were more experienced than me in the industry, and they said, go. Don't make the mistake of not going. Even if you're not going to get paid much and if you're going to lose money, it's worth going because you'll cultivate that market. So I took that news back to the other guys, and everybody was on board, like, yeah, let's go do this. And I'm so glad we did.
Yeah, absolutely. And look what happens. In America, hard rock music makes a comeback, at least, in a nostalgia sense. People want to see it again. Still young people, also people's kids getting turned on to this music. Yeah. And you guys have never stopped. Firehouse still, I know right now we're shut down a little bit, but you guys still play maybe 50 a year. I don't know what your numbers
We
are.
did 57 shows in 2019, and we were on track to do over 60 in 2020 until the shutdown in mid-March. So,
Yeah, I mean, so and for people who don't know, nowadays you don't get on the tour bus and play every night. You do the fly dates on the weekend. So to do 57, 60 shows is a lot of shows.
it was, it was a lot. I was really happy with the way things were looking, and you're right. We didn't do any bus touring in 2019. It was all fly dates. Or if our policy is if you live within a few hours, then you drive to that gig, and everybody else flies in, so you don't get the frequent flyer points.
Right.
Is the deal.
Which is a big perk of traveling these days.
It's big because if you get the frequent flyer points and you get the status, you get free bags checked. Mm-hmm. And then every now and then you get a complimentary upgrade, and you can sit in that nice, comfortable big chair, and it makes a difference when you're flying 6 hours, out west or something. So,
oh, it's such a new world for people who don't know this. But I was traveling with the band Winger, and we're in the airport, and I remember Rod Morgenstein saying to me, "We don't get paid to play music; we get paid to sit in airports."
That's it. I love that. Yeah, that's what I want to get paid for. I'll do the music for free. I want to.
Yeah, because the show is an hour, and he had the worst luck. No matter where we went, he lived back east. Snowstorms, 7 flights. I would get to the airport at 6 o'clock, and I go, "Why are you still here? Your flight was 9 a.m." He goes, "I had 8 flights canceled." So that is the modern reality of flying and traveling.
It is, and Delta doesn't make their schedule around rock and roll. They make it around business travel, which is 6 a.m. flights. And with rock and roll, you get off stage at sometimes 1:30, and you get in bed at 2 o'clock, and you get up at 2:15 or 3 o'clock to go drive the 3 hours back to the airport to fly to the next gig. So we've been living on very little sleep for the last, I guess, 15 years. We've been doing the fly date business model.
Scotty Hill from Skid Row, he gave me the advice. He said, if you get back to your room at like 3 a.m, you have a 5 a.m. lobby call, you just keep all your clothes on, you keep the light on, you have your bag packed, and when that alarm goes off, you just stand up and walk out the door.
You're ready to go. Yeah. I mean, I've done that. Certainly. I find that, if I can lay down and fall asleep for even 15 minutes, I'll feel better. But sometimes you don't get to. Sometimes we walk off stage, we go back to the hotel, get a shower, hop in the van, because we got to drive 3 hours to that airport where the flight is, because we may play 3 hours away from a major airport.
Right.
And then you get on that plane, and then you fly to the hub. Let's say it's Minneapolis, and then you sit in Minneapolis for 3 hours for your layover, and then you fly to the next place, wherever the airport is. Then you hop in a van and you drive for 3 hours to where that gig is. So we do a lot of that, and it's tough. I mean,
that's the hardest part. Nowadays you play a lot of shows in the Midwest, and these cities are spread out, and like you said, so you get to the airport. Three Forks, Montana, or whatever, is not near the airport, And,
not at all. Montana's very spread out.
Yeah, so you hit the road. Well, I think another good advice I got was stay in a hotel near the airport. I used to always think that was crazy because I go, but we're so far from the venue. But the thing was, after the show, you were very close to getting out.
And there's the shuttle there that'll get you in there, and so that is another good trick of the trade for sure.
Yeah, shuttles and we did because we're based out of Vegas, a lot of Southwest flights because your bags fly free. So did a lot of this is modern touring. People they think it's still glamorous. And listen, it's great. You could be working a normal job. I mean, it's a fortunate thing to have, but it is a different circumstance.
Yeah, and you learn the hard way on a lot of that stuff. And over doing it for 15 years, you learn how to pack light, and try to get by with as little gear as you possibly can, because let's face it, everybody wants their Marshall stacks that they're used to, playing or whatever, and their big pedal board and 4 guitars, but when you fly out, you can't take that stuff. So you learn pretty quickly how to scale down and how to still make it work in a big way.
Yeah, and that's another thing. You rarely get to play your own gear. You're playing house stuff, and if you're on a bill with other bands, it's way different than it used to be.
Yeah, you learn to get along with the other bands a lot more.
Funny you should say that. I was working with a band, I won't mention their name, and you guys were on the same bill, and it was a promotional. It was one of those shows for booking agents, and the guy that I was working with kept saying, "You got to make FireHouse cut some more songs." And it was like, is it really that important to you that we? I think there was 4 bands, and so I hated being a tour manager or anything. It's the worst job possible. But so luckily your guys are just so laid back and cool, and but I'm just like, at some point you're going to have these guys playing a song, and for your own ego. That was here in Vegas at the.
Well, we have to balance that stuff when we get those suggestions from tour managers up the totem pole. We have to decide whether were we able to go on time or not, and was it our fault or was that somebody else's fault, and is it possible to keep the show on time without us cutting songs, because we don't want to shortchange the fans. Wow. At the same time, if the headliner, if it's their show, that's the way it is, and we want to accommodate those headliners because they're the boss, and so we do that balance, and we have to discuss that stuff, but we're not jerks about it. We understand it's tough sometimes, and
you guys,
and showtime ends when showtime ends, and the headliner can't be left cutting songs because their name is at the top of the ticket. So
yeah, the good news though is that band isn't headlining anywhere anymore. So if anything, you'll be cutting their songs now.
Try not to.
Yeah, but you guys are also very fortunate to have this catalog of music, which is not something that everybody has. But to have that many ballads that you have to play is a tricky thing too, because you want to get people rocking. That's why the headlining show is obviously the ideal show for you guys. Because then you can play as much of your music as possible.
Yeah, we want to try to play for an hour and a half at least when we can. But when we have an opportunity to open up for a really big headliner and it's 30 minutes, then we only play one ballad. Sometimes if it's a little longer, we'll play a little piece of the second ballad in there, so it's not so much of a low point in the set, right, because we want to do the rockin' stuff,
Yeah, no, absolutely. It makes sense. Now you've got some shows coming up. Obviously, those kind of things right now, we find out, things change. But I know if people go to the FireHouse website, there are a few dates in the spring, and everyone's waiting to see what will happen, I'm sure as you are too,
Yeah, and I'm optimistic, hopelessly optimistic. I think it's all going to get better here real soon. But so March, we've got a couple in Iowa that are in mid-March, and then after that, I'm not exactly sure, but I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know, but I know those March ones is when we start back up again. Will be March. So
yeah, so
can't wait to get out there and play again. We've done 3 shows since we shut down in mid-March of 2020. One of them was in Virginia, so it's too far from here, at a theater that we play, and they were able to sell a limited capacity of tickets, and we played, and the fans were just so into it. It was wonderful, and we were too. It was getting back on that bicycle, and just great. And then we did a private event in Wisconsin near Milwaukee, and that was great. And we did one other one in Wyoming, not exactly a hot spot, but it was a club. And everybody had masks on, and they were socially distanced and everything, and it went over great. And so those 3 gigs made us really appreciate it so much more. So if there's anything good to be taken out of all this, is that we just love playing live, and when you have to get no sleep and get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and go to the next place, it'll beat you up. But there's nothing like getting up there and playing for us. We just love it, and we appreciate it so much more. So.
Yeah, which is great, and it's going to be even crazier when things are back. People are really ready for some rock, and they're going to come out, and so that it could end up being a really good thing for everybody. And it's great that you guys, as I've said a few times now, have kept your band and your brand together. It's not an easy thing to do, and you've kept that core. And I think people appreciate it and they like it because there's not many people who are still doing it.
Well, we really get along really well, and we love the music, and we love the fans, and we love to play live. So that's kind of been the magic the combination of those three things. We're all headed in the same direction musically, and with our personal lives, we're all pretty much similar in a lot of ways. So there isn't much conflict out there at all. It's all, we're just going to go out there and kick ass,
Yeah, well, that's the best attitude to have. We didn't get into some of the later FireHouse records, but Good Acoustics is an amazing record that you produced. That's the first one that you produced, and I think that fans would love that. Category 5, a real heavy album that you also produced. FireHouse's last release was Full Circle, which is re-recorded versions of a lot of songs off each album, right?
Yeah, we re-recorded some of our greatest hits and some of our fan favorites that weren't necessarily singles, but songs that everybody comes back saying they want to hear. So we did that, and that was a great experience to do that and to kind of see how the songs had evolved over the years and how they had changed a little bit, and to get out and record them again. So it was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So so people can check that out. So you can go to FireHouse's website to check out. There's dates and music and all those things. You go to Leverty.com, you check out Bill's stuff, his solo albums, and then you have all kinds of the merch and things on there. And there's guitar lessons and there's all kinds of options. So I recommend everybody check that out. And Bill, thank you for chatting with me today.
Well, thank you, Jason. Appreciate the time, man. It's great to be on the show. Thanks.
It's a lot of fun to do this, yesterday I talked to a guy from the punk band, the Dead Boys. Today I talked to you, and then I got Greg D'Angelo from White Lion next.
Oh, cool. I tell him, I said, hey, I met him years ago before we got a record deal. He's super cool. All those guys were so nice.
Yeah, he's great. And that's also what's fun about this. I get to talk to people that I like. No one tells me who to interview. I get to talk to people that I'm a fan of and enjoy their company as well. So thank you again, Bill.
Thank you, Jason.
And I'm looking forward to, I know there's a FireHouse date this summer. So in Vegas, I mean.
Oh, cool, buddy. I'll see you there.
So I hope to see you there. Okay.
See you.